What's happening, my future debt-free millionaires? This is Zach Edwards with another episode of the Debt-Free Millionaire podcast and personal finance course. That's season 1. Next season is going to be on real estate, and the third season, I know all of you are waiting for, is business. It's how to get into business, how to make it successful, and such. So let's go with what we have today. It's a very important topic that everyone needs to understand, and the word is interest. What is interest? Now, I'm very interested in this topic, and I'm very interested in this podcast, but that is not the interest that we're talking about. What is financial interest? So interest is the amount of money that you borrow, and it's the percentage of what you owe. So here's the thing. When I borrow $1,000, that's $1,000 worth of principal. Now the principal I have to pay back. That's understandable. It's a loan. You're borrowing money. You need to pay it back. Now the person on the other side that's letting me borrow it is most likely a business. But even family can do this, and it's not a bad thing that they're doing this. The reason why we have to pay interest on that principal is because that person is tying up. If we borrowed $1,000, they're tying up $1,000 that they could be spending on something else. So they want to be able to get something out of it. Now, some family members won't make you pay for it, pay interest. Most will, and that's fine. Banks will, mortgage companies will, every other person that lets you borrow money will make you pay interest. So that's a percentage of what you borrowed on top of principal. So let's just say, okay, I'm going to go to a friend and I'm going to ask them if I can borrow $1,000. He's going to say, yeah, you can borrow it at 5% interest. Wow, great. 5% interest is lower than a mortgage rate. So yeah, I'll do that. That means I have to pay you back. Now I borrowed $1,000. 5% of that is $50 a year. Now, no one, most people, but no one is going to be crazy enough to say, yeah, just pay it at the end of the year. Maybe $50, it shouldn't be that bad of a thing, bad of a request. But say if you're that $500 annual interest, yeah, that's going to be a little bit harder, or $1,000 or $20,000 worth of interest. No one in their right mind is going to wait till the end of the year to borrow that money or to get that money back from you, because you're supposed to be paying back every year. So that's why nearly every contract is written so that you pay it back monthly. So that's $500, but broken up into small increments of that $500 to be paid back throughout the year. Now, if I borrowed, let's say $600, because it's easy math. I borrowed $600. Okay, if I borrowed $600, what is that? $600. 12 months, that would be $50 a month. Great, I could do that. $600, but I have to pay $50 a month. So $600 worth of interest. Oh, that's $600. I don't know where I got the $600. $60. Wow. Wow. This is a total brain fart. 1 second. Now say I borrowed $1,000 at 20% interest. Okay, so that is, now 20%, what is 20% of $1,000? Okay, 10%, just take off a zero, is $100. So 20% interest would be twice that much, so it'd be $200. But they're gonna break that into, what are they gonna do it? They're gonna break it into monthly installments. So it's just under $100 a month. I can do that. Okay, $100 a month. If it's just that one person, that's $1,000 for 20%. You're like, who would pay 20%? Just so you know, the average credit card interest is 22%. Most people are paying 24%. So yeah, that's a good amount. That's $200 annually that you have to pay up. And think of it this way. That's $200 for nothing except for borrowing someone else's money. If you had saved up, you would be able to spend that $200 on going out to restaurants, going out to do something else, or investing in your future, including an emergency fund. But because you didn't and you really need the $1,000, you're going to have to pay back 20% on your credit card or from a friend. And that means you're going to be paying an extra $200 a month on that $1,000. So whatever it was for $1,000, don't think of it as $1,000. Now it's $1,200 if you pay back in 1 year. If you pay back in 2 years, depends on how much interest was taken off, but that's like now, say $1,300. Well, just to say you didn't pay any interest off, it'd be $1,400. $200 the first year, $200 the second year. For borrowing $1,000, you've now almost one and a half x'd it. So this is why understanding what interest is so important. Why it's so important to understand what you're borrowing is principal. What they're asking in payment is interest. And that interest is not a good thing. The more interest that you have to pay every month, the higher the payment is going to be. The higher the payment is going to be, the more you're going to owe out of your paycheck. And the bigger the amount that you owe, it's the less money that you can spend on your actual expenses. Because debt is something that someone can come after you if you do not pay up. Now you can go to bankruptcy, but that's going to destroy your credit and destroy your life for 7 years. So not a good plan. What you need to do is if you're going to borrow any money, you need to make sure you know how much you're borrowing and how much the interest rate is going to be and how much that means you're going to have to pay every month. That's the big thing to understand. How much am I going to pay every month? So let's go into some of these debts that people go into. Okay, we already talked about credit card companies. Now, okay, back in 2020 to 2021, when I was writing this book originally, I should have published it then because my numbers would have been accurate and would have been up to date. It was 20% on credit cards, and that was like a high, was 20%. Now the average is 24.8%. Yep, that's right. An extra 24.8% on every dollar you borrow. $1,000, that's $248 a year that you're going to be paying up. Bi-monthly, it's about a little over $1,000. Sorry, $100 that you're borrowing, that you're paying off every month. So if I'm paying back $100 every month, that's not too happy. I'm not too happy for that. Okay, now that is a credit card, and the average American owes $6,993 in credit card debt. That does not talk about the businesses. This is just personal. This is why my wife and we always pay it off every month. But should we have a credit card? Again, that's up to you. But if you don't have a credit card and using debit card, which is one of my good friends uses only, when they run out of money in that account, they're out of money for the rest of the month or until the next paycheck. And they're okay with that because they plan out, they budget, and they know exactly how much is being spent. Done deal. Great. Because anyone that says, oh, I need to have this because I get money back. Well, you get money back because they're making money off of you. Just saying. They're making money off you. They wouldn't be giving you money back unless they were making money, because they're not giving back any of the money that you're paying them, just the amount of money that they're getting in extra money that they're getting. Okay, so let's talk about the student loans. Average American that has a student loan has $37,850 worth of student loans. This includes those that did not finish school to those that did finish school and are in bigger programs. The average interest rate on those is 6.87%. It's actually slightly lower than the mortgage rate right now. Well, the mortgage rate right now. The average mortgage is still around 6%. So it's slightly above that. Okay, so that is an extra, if you made $37,850 in student loans, that is an extra $3,273 that you're paying every year, which means that is around $300 a month that you're spending. So if it's that much you're spending, can you afford an extra $300 a month? At the same time, someone would say, because it's education, can I afford not to have that? That's a good question. Leave that up to you. The next one is personal loans. Now, personal loans have to do with anything from credit cards to car loans and such. Other loans, not mortgages, and not student loans. So, a personal loan, the average American has $1,370 in home equity loans. And again, this is 2022. This is when I finished writing this book. The next one is in car loans. They have an average of $4,760 for those that have car loans. And other loans, they have about $1,520 in other loans. So altogether, this makes up the personal loans. So that is a lot of money. Annually, so monthly, this is around $765 a month that you're paying on just personal loans. What about a mortgage? Average person who has a mortgage owes in a mortgage about, this person that has a mortgage is paying $244,000 and $498 $244,498,000. Here's the thing. Here's the big thing. In 2021, when I was writing it, to 2022, the average was $561,000. Sorry. Whew, it's been a long day. Anyways, that is about a $70,000 increase, $72,000 increase in 2 years. In 2 years. Whoa. Just saying. And right now, the average mortgage rate is at 7%. Now, when I bought my first house, it was about an 8 to 9% interest rate. And then it went down to 3%. Now, everyone's now expecting to have 3%, but we're not going to get back down to 3%, not for a long time. And because of that, you should be used to the 7 to 8%. I'm not saying you should feel good about it, but that is what you can look forward to as you're buying a house. Now, let's go into the average American. The average American, and I know I'm throwing out all these numbers, but they're important to know. Back in 2020, this is just before I was writing this book, the average American without a mortgage, owed in total this is everyone, mortgage and those that don't have mortgages, those that are renting and those that do not. Average was $92,727. And that was 2020. So at 2020, 4 years ago, it was 11% less than what we're paying now, because we're now paying $104,215. That is amazing. That's how much we have in debt. That's not even talking the interest we owe on that debt. It's not talking about the principal, or that is the principal, not the interest. So then you pay, if this is true, depending on what the interest rate is, if it's 7%, then you're paying about $7,295 a month. If it's credit card debt, mostly, you're paying around $20,000, $843 annually. Wow. Again, I said this is a long day. This is the first time I've had all these hiccups while giving this presentation. Not just this one, but all my podcasts. So I'm 60 podcasts in, and this seems to be the hardest one because there's a lot of numbers. And I know it's a lot of numbers for you. Let me break this down in what a monthly would be. So if you're paying $7,000 annually to $20,000 annually, let's take the $7,000 first, you're paying about $607 a month. I'm getting rid of all these small numbers. If you're paying the 20%, if you're paying the $20,000 annually, you're paying $1,736 per month. $1,700 a month. On what? On stuff you didn't have to borrow. Or maybe you did have to borrow it, but it's still $1,700 you're paying a month. If it's on credit card, then you probably did not need to borrow it. You could have waited. I don't know your circumstance, so I'm not going to lay any judgment. But all I know is that this is important to know. It will affect you for the rest of your life. You want to be able to get things without interest, which means by being self-reliant, you need to be able to pay it up front, which means you probably have to save for some of the big purchases you didn't want to save for, but you're going to be paying $1,700 a month. And what do you get out of it? Oh, I get to write off of my taxes. Well, not if it's credit card debt. If it's credit card debt, that's $1,700 you get nothing out of. You can't get anything out of it. So yeah, probably not the best thing if it's credit card debt. If it was a mortgage, okay, I can understand that because it's a mortgage. If it's a mortgage that you're paying all that amount on, then you're probably paying around $607 a month. For a mortgage, that's great. Now remember, that's not just all those with mortgages, it's everyone. So between the credit cards, those that have just credit cards, and those that just have a mortgage, and anything in between, and the person that doesn't have any debt, it's around $104,000. Yeah, $104,000 that the total American owes. It's pretty sad. That's pretty hard. Because if you have a mortgage, then the average person with a mortgage owes $241,815. Now, translate that to annually, that's 24. Okay, annually, then this takes into account that you're not paying all of this in a mortgage. Because if your mortgage, you're 7%. But if, and we already went over those numbers. If you're paying a mixture, credit cards, and the mortgage, then you could be paying up to $24,000 every year. Or call that $2,000 monthly. Ow! That's right. That's painful. That's just in interest. That's what I'm trying to say. That's not the principal. The principal is what you owe. So again, if I owed the $241,000, that's my principal. $241,000. That's the principal. And I'm paying a portion of that back every month. I'm paying an extra $2,000 in just interest. Okay, I can't say I don't pay any interest on things, especially on my business. For business, I do actually have debt. But in my personal, I've made it a life goal to make it to this point so I do not owe anymore, which is why we're going to go through real estate and go through business so you can see how to get rid of the extra taxes you're paying, or you're going to be able to get out of debt faster. These are all things to think about. So one last thing, if you don't have a mortgage, now again, we took everyone, we then took the people with mortgages. If you don't have a mortgage, the average debt of anyone that does not have a mortgage is about $23,000. $23,000. But the average interest for those people is 24.8%. So that means you're paying about $5,700 annually per month. That's about $475 extra that you're paying a month. And for what? For one thing, because you couldn't save for it. Now, again, this might be because you had an emergency. This is why we have an emergency fund. You wouldn't have that emergency if you had an emergency fund, most likely, because if it goes over the emergency fund, you would have to take out some debt. If this is because you just wanted a hot item, well, you're paying $475 a month because you couldn't wait. So the next time you go out and start swiping your credit card, remember how much you owe, because every time you swipe that card, you're going to owe more. That was not poetry. I know. It wasn't supposed to be. That is life. That's what it is. I'm giving you this information because this is life. This is what happens by swiping the credit card or taking out personal loans, such as a car loan or getting a mortgage. You have interest and you have principal. Principal is what you borrow. Interest is what you owe every month until you pay off that principal. And if it's a large principal, it's going to take you a long time to pay that off. Now, a mortgage would be a lower interest rate. A credit card is extremely higher interest rate. It's like 3 times the interest rate of a mortgage. Mortgage, okay. Student loans, okay. Both of them are fairly close to each other when it comes to the average interest rate. Credit card, not good. Any kind of personal loan that's over 10% interest, not good. So, hopefully, you'll understand that if you want to take out interest, that's your choice. I'm not going to demonize you. I'm not going to do anything about it. I'm just telling you right now that the more you have in debt that you owe, the more you're going to be dishing out every month. The more you're dishing out every month, the less that you can invest in the future, in yourself, the less that you can have to go have fun. So, if you want to invest for the future, if you want to go out and have fun, get rid of your debt, get rid of that interest rates so that you can relax. Be stress-free. Get rid of that debt. Debt is stress because debt is bondage. Bondage leads to stress. So get out of it. Enjoy your day. Don't think about your debt. That is until your next paycheck or pay up. Next time that you have to pay. Next time your paycheck comes out. Because every time you get those, you're going to get a reminder. Oh, I still owe X, Y, or Z. But if you get out of that debt, that's right, you can take a breather. Get rid of that debt and take that breather. You're the only one that's in control. Now, if you owe money, the bank's in control. The credit card company's in control. Everyone else is in control of your life because you're working because you have to pay that all that off. Student loans are in control. Your mortgage is in control. You get rid of debt. You are personally in control. So that's what we're looking for. That's what we want as a people, right? We want to get rid of our debt, be able to have a stress-free life, and not be dishing up this. Calculations and dishing out this. More and more and more of your hard-earned money. So, don't get into debt. That becomes yours. That's right. Wouldn't that be nice? Have a little lockbox with that kind of cash in there? Well, you probably never see a lockbox with that kind of cash in there because you have it in banks, which is okay. Or investments. That's okay. That's a better place to have it than a bank. In a bank, you're losing money. You put in in a good investment. That's bank money. That's great money that's coming out of there. It's so much better than putting it in a bank. Because in a bank, again, as inflation goes up and your interest rate goes up and you have a small interest rate that you're getting on your interest on the money that they're borrowing from you out of your account, well, there you go. You could be making a whole lot more money in an investment. And that's what it takes, getting rid of your debt, so you can do that. So thanks again for joining me on this Debt-Free Millionaire Day. I hope you can find ways of getting out of this debt so that you don't have money bags or lock boxes full of money getting dished out every month. Shovel it out the door. Or, even worse, on the train, the old trains, how they had the incinerator, the engine. You're trying to make all this heat to boil the water to be able to get the steam engine to go. Think of that. You're shoveling up the money, all that greenback, and you're throwing it into the fireplace. Shoveling the money, throw it in the fireplace because it's gone. And those that you're borrowing from, they're the ones that are saying, ooh, look, more money, more money. They want your money so fast. And that you're going to do everything that you can, because I know you. I know if you're listening here, it's because you want to get out of debt. So if you're here, you're thinking of every single way that you can to get rid of that cash moolah that's coming out of your pocket and being thrown into the fireplace every month. Get rid of that debt, and there is no money being, okay. I would love to say that there's no wasted money, but that is not true because we, as humans, especially Americans, love wasting money. But it's not wasting money paying somebody else for money that you borrowed because you don't have any more money that you owe. And if you don't have money that you owe, take a breather, relax, go to when you want, go to it. Be debt free. And we'll talk to you later. Thanks so much. We'll talk to you soon. That was really weird. Anyways, bye.